If you've ever stared at a massive monitor and thought, "Is this just another pricey eye candy that won't actually improve my games?" You're not alone. The fear of splurging on a piece of hardware that ends up gathering dust is real, especially when you're juggling a budget and trying to get the most out of every dollar. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let's dig into whether the LG 52-inch Ultragear Evo G9 actually delivers a noticeable upgrade for the kind of gaming setups you might be building, or if it's more of a headline grabber than a daily workhorse. First off, size matters, but not just for bragging rights. A 52-inch curved screen pushes you into a truly panoramic field of view, which can change how you experience both shooters and open-world titles. In practice, that curve wraps the image around you at a 1,000 R radius, meaning the distance from the center of the screen to the edge is roughly the same as the distance from your eyes to the screen. For a first-person shooter, this reduces the need to constantly swivel your head, letting you track enemies on the periphery with less neck strain. In a racing sim, the sweep gives you a sense of the horizon that feels more natural than a flat panel. That said, the sheer footprint of a 52-inch display isn't something you can shove onto a cramped desk. You'll need a sturdy, spacious workstation or a dedicated gaming nook with enough depth to accommodate the curve without the edges feeling too far away. When it comes to motion, the G9 promises 240 Hz refresh and a 1 millisecond gray-to-gray response. Those numbers translate into smoother motion during fast-paced titles, but the real test is whether you can actually feed the monitor that many frames. If you're gaming on a mid-range GPU that tops out around 144 frames per second in modern titles, you'll still see a benefit from the higher refresh because the monitor can display those frames more cleanly, reducing perceived blur. However, you won't be exploiting the full 240 Hz capability unless you're paired with a high-end graphics card or a console that can push beyond 200 frames per second. In real-world usage, the difference between 144 Hz and 240 Hz is most noticeable in competitive shooters where every millisecond counts. You'll feel a subtle edge in tracking and reaction time. For story-driven single-player games, the extra frames are less impactful, and you might find the visual improvement marginal compared to a solid 144 Hz panel. Color accuracy and brightness are another practical consideration. The display supports VESA DisplayHDR 600 and covers about 95% of the DCP-3 color gamut, which means HDR content looks punchier than on typical office monitors. In games that support HDR, think recent releases from the Assassin's Creed or Cyberpunk series. The brighter whites and deeper shadows give a more immersive feel without needing a separate HDR TV. But the HDR peak brightness of 600 nits, while respectable for a monitor, still falls short of high-end TV panels that push 1000 nits or more. In bright rooms, you'll notice the HDR effect dimming a bit, so a controlled lighting environment works best. If you also plan to use the screen for content creation or video editing, the wide color coverage is a plus, though you'll want to calibrate it to get the most accurate results. Connectivity is surprisingly generous for a monitor of this size. It offers a full suite of HDMI 2.1 and DisplayPort 2.1 ports, plus a USB-C input that can deliver up to 90 W of power. That means you could theoretically connect a laptop that supports USB-C video and charge it while you game, eliminating a separate power brick. In a multi-device household, the extra ports let you hook up a console, a PC, and a streaming box without constantly swapping cables. The practical downside is that you'll need a graphics card with HDMI 2.1 or DP 2.1 to fully utilize the 5K, 2K resolution at high refresh rates. Older cards will downscale or limit the refresh, which could be a letdown if you expected plug-and-play performance out of the box. Now, who should actually consider buying this monitor? If you're a competitive gamer who already has a high-end GPU and you crave an immersive, ultra-wide field of view that lets you spot opponents earlier, the G9's curve and high refresh rate give you a tangible edge. Streamers who want a single screen that doubles as a backdrop for both gaming and video production will appreciate the HDR capability and color coverage, especially when paired with a proper calibration workflow. Likewise, users who spend long hours in creative suites, photo editing, 3D modeling, video timelines will benefit from the expansive real estate and the accurate color space. On the flip side, If you're primarily a casual gamer who sticks to 1080p or 1440p titles, or you're on a tighter budget, the G9 may feel like overkill. The cost of the monitor, combined with the need for a powerful GPU to drive its native resolution, can push the total investment well into the high three-figure range. For a bedroom setup with limited desk space, the curvature and size could become a nuisance rather than an advantage. And if your primary use is